The past doesn't just come back, sometimes it reaches for you. In this episode, Come Home With Me, Sarah stands at the edge of a truth she was never meant to remember. One man offers answers wrapped in danger, the other warns of a silence that could erase her forever. Between love, lies, and a fire that was no accident, one choice will pull her deeper into a story she's already lived, and maybe survived once before. Because this time, if she follows him, she might not come back. So, before we start, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. The moments stretched like a fragile thread about to snap. Sarah stood frozen, her eyes locked on Ethan's outstretched hand, as if it carried the weight of a forgotten lifetime. There was something deeply unnatural about the stillness around them, as though the world itself had paused to witness her decision. The soft hum of the jazz lounge faded into an eerie silence, the clinking glasses, murmured conversations, and low saxophone notes dissolving into nothing. Even the candle between them burned with an unnatural restraint, its flame trembling but refusing to dance. In that suspended second, Sarah felt an unexplainable pull, an invisible force tethering her to the man standing before her. Ethan didn't look like a stranger. He looked like a memory she had lost, or perhaps a truth she had buried. Yet fear rooted her in place, whispering that something about this moment was dangerously irreversible. Ethan's voice broke through the silence again, softer this time, but carrying an intensity that made it impossible to ignore. Come home with me. The words weren't just an invitation. They were a command wrapped in familiarity, laced with something darker beneath the surface. His tone held history, pain, and something almost possessive. Sarah's heartbeat quickened as she tried to search his face for answers. There was no doubt he believed what he was saying. To him, this wasn't a gamble. It was a continuation. But to her, it felt like stepping into a void without knowing if there was ground beneath. The tension in the room thickened, pressing against her chest, making it harder to breathe. And just when it felt like she might give in to the pull, another presence disrupted the fragile balance. Across from her, the woman in satin gloves rose with deliberate calm. Every movement she made felt calculated, controlled, and ominous. Her voice cut through the air like a blade. Don't do it. The warning wasn't loud, but it carried a sharp urgency that demanded attention. Sarah turned toward her, startled not just by the interruption, but by the conviction behind her words. He doesn't want your memory back. He wants your silence. The accusation lingered heavily between them, shifting the entire atmosphere. Suddenly, this wasn't just a reunion. It was a confrontation. The woman's gaze held a depth of knowledge that made Sarah uneasy, as though she was looking at someone who knew far more about her life than she did herself. The balance of trust tipped dangerously, and for the first time, doubt crept in. Who was telling the truth, and more importantly, why did both of them sound so certain? Ethan's reaction was immediate. His jaw tightened, his expression hardening as if the woman's words had struck a nerve he couldn't ignore. Lucien lies for survival, he said, his voice colder now, stripped of the softness he had shown Sarah moments before. The name hung in the air, Lucien. It carried weight, history, and a hint of resentment. Sarah repeated it silently, trying to make sense of the dynamic unfolding before her. This wasn't a simple disagreement. This was something deeper, something rooted in past betrayals and hidden truths. Lucienne didn't flinch at the accusation. Instead, she held her ground, her composure unwavering, which only made her more unsettling. Sarah felt like she had stepped into a narrative already in motion, a story with chapters she had never read, yet somehow belonged to. Confusion overwhelmed her as she looked between them, her mind racing to piece together fragments of a life she couldn't remember. "Tell me the truth," she whispered, her voice barely audible but filled with desperation. She wasn't asking for comfort anymore. She was demanding clarity. Ethan's expression softened at her plea. the tension in his face giving way to something more vulnerable. For the first time, he looked less like a threat and more like someone carrying the weight of a painful past. "The truth is, you loved me once," he began, each word deliberate, as if he knew the impact they would have. Sierra's breath caught. The statement didn't just confuse her, it stirred something deep within, a faint echo of emotion she couldn't place. "The truth is, you were supposed to leave with me that night." His voice wavered slightly, hinting at regret. And then came the final revelation, the one that shifted everything. "And the truth is, the fire was never an accident." The words hit Sarah like a shockwave. A fire, a night she couldn't remember, a decision she had supposedly made. It was too much, too fast, and yet it felt undeniably real. Before she could process it, Lucienne moved. In a swift, desperate motion, she lunged forward and grabbed Sarah's wrist. The grip was tight, urgent, almost pleading. "If you go with him, you'll disappear again." The warning was no longer calm. It was frantic. There was fear in her voice now, raw and unfiltered. But Ethan reacted just as quickly. He caught Lucienne's arm mid-air, stopping her with a force that was both protective and aggressive. The contact between them wasn't just physical. It was personal, charged with unresolved conflict. Their eyes locked, and in that brief moment it was clear that whatever history they shared was far from over. "Stop." Sierra's voice cut through the chaos, sharper than she expected. Both of them froze instantly, their attention snapping back to her. The power of the moment shifted. This wasn't about Ethan or Lucienne anymore. It was about her choice, her reality, her future. She looked at Ethan again, truly seeing him this time, not as a stranger, not as a threat, but as someone deeply intertwined with her past. There was grief in his eyes, unmistakable and heavy. There was anger too, but it wasn't directed at her. It was restrained, controlled, like a storm he refused to unleash. And beneath it all, there was something else. Something real. Something that felt familiar. Against every logical instinct, against every warning screaming in her mind, Sarah made her decision. Slowly, deliberately, she placed her hand in his. Lucienne's face went pale, the composure she had maintained finally cracking. "Then you've already made the same mistake twice." Her words carried a quiet finality, as though she had just witnessed history repeating itself. But Sarah didn't pull away. She couldn't. There was something about the connection, something undeniable that told her this was a path she had already chosen once before. Whether it led to truth or destruction, she needed to see it through. Ethan didn't hesitate. As soon as her hand touched his, he tightened his grip, not forcefully, but with a certainty that left no room for doubt. Without another word, he led her out of the lounge, into the cold night air, where rain poured relentlessly, washing away the tension of the room behind them. As they stepped onto the street, the world seemed to come back to life, but not in a comforting way. The rain blurred the city lights, turning everything into a distorted reflection of reality. Across the street, a black car sat silently, its presence almost invisible until its headlights flicked on. The sudden brightness cut through the darkness, illuminating Sarah and Ethan as they walked. Inside the car, a shadowed figure lifted a phone, capturing the moment with calculated precision. It was intentional. Planned. The click of the camera was drowned by the rain, unnoticed by Sarah, but it marked the beginning of something far larger than she could imagine. As the image was taken, the story shifted once again, moving from personal conflict to something more dangerous, more orchestrated. And just like that, the scene ended, leaving behind a single haunting question. Had Sarah just reclaimed her past, or sealed her fate once more? If you liked this video and would like to see more like it, please give it the thumbs up. Leave a comment and click the button to subscribe.